Recording in progress.
Great. Welcome, members of the public. The committee is returning from executive session. I now ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We now shall move on to the first hearing of citizens. Mr. LeConte, if you could kindly provide guidance.
Members of the public are now welcome to come up to the microphone to address the Township Committee. This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues which are not topics scheduled for public hearings tonight. Those present may step up to the microphone to be heard. If you are watching via Zoom, you may speak during any of the public comment sessions by following the Zoom instructions to raise your hand. Whether in person or online, when you are recognized to speak, please mind the following procedures. Please say your name, spell your last name, and give the name of your street. You do not need to give your street number. All public comments will be limited to 3 minutes. Rather than use any of your time answering questions, the Township Committee will wait until you finish speaking before responding. There are 2 public comment sessions on tonight's agenda. Each member of the public will be limited to 1 comment of up to 3 minutes during each public comment period. Written comments submitted to the Township Clerk before 3 p.m. today, which we did not receive any, but if we had, they would be read during the public comment sessions. Written comments are subject to the same guidelines as oral comments. Duplicative written comments may be summarized rather than read in full according to guidelines issued by the New Jersey Division of Local Government Services.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. So we have no written statements. Do we have anyone online?
No answers.
Thank you. At this time, I now invite any member of the public to come before the microphone should they desire to do so. I see no one coming before the microphone. I shall now close the first hearing of citizens. We shall now move on to the workshop portion of our agenda. Mr. Shahadi.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got a couple things on the agenda, but because we have our engineer here, I would ask that we skip to his portion and start with him so we can get him out of here. John, you can come on up, please. So under engineering, well, first off, we'll start off, you received his report. Are there any questions on any items in his report?
Yeah, do we have a date yet on the first project on Lafayette?
Safe route to schools, we were certainly hoping.
John, just pull that microphone over, yeah.
Sit over here and speak into the microphone.
No problem. Yeah, we were hope all the delays were behind us, but we still seem to be, you know, in a pattern of just one delay after another. Currently, we're waiting for the contractor to fill out, you know, various federal forms so that to get his subs in place, and that these forms were the problem of why we had to rebid the project multiple times. So I don't foresee any issue with the project not moving forward. It's just a matter of, again, getting all the paperwork, federal paperwork in place before he can start utilizing some of his subs. So don't have a firm start date yet.
Well, school starts in 2 weeks.
Yep, and I'm sure the work is probably gonna be, you know, during the school year. You know, it's, you know, we
Any other comments on that from anyone?
I think at this point, it is what it is.
It is less than far from ideal.
We waited this long.
I mean, it's been 10 years. It's you know, happy that we were able to award a contract and didn't have to bid it for, what, a 5th time or 6th time. Yeah, it is unfortunate, but they're just going to have to work, you know, I think unfortunately, I don't believe it was in the contract for them to like start at 9 and stop at 3, but I think it's something that we're gonna have to work out with the contractor and see what that involves.
mean, I think the reality is we're putting in sidewalks where they didn't exist, so it's not like we're disrupting anybody's walk to school. They're gonna go whichever.
Just
way.
traffic, it's just
Yeah.
traffic
It'll-
is really
yeah.
what the impact is going to be. you know.
Yeah, which, if we could just avoid, we should be able to avoid,
Avoid the early morning rush and the
Yeah.
afternoon rush, and, it should be okay, but it's just that the contract provisions, and I'm gonna talk to the state, and if the contractor does have a claim, because we asked them to do that, perhaps, if the DOT is willing to pay for that, then fine. If it's not costing us anything to amend the contract, so, we'll explore that with them also.
John, what's the duration of,
I believe the contract has, I think it's 120 days, is that he has to do it? I have to look at that, but it's not gonna take 120 days. This contractor will move rather quickly. I've worked with him before, and it'll probably be a month and a half. I could see him getting the majority of the work done, maybe even sooner. So.
okay, thank you.
The work entails improvements on the sidewalk and curbing, not catch basins, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Only catch basins if there's a couple locations where the catch basin needs to be reconstructed because the ramp for the sidewalk, when you're doing it on a crosswalk, the catch basin was right out of the location where the ramp was going, so you had to move it. So there is some minor drainage work, nothing significant, it's just moving a basin or adjusting a basin casting.
Are we aware of any legacy catch basins where part of the scope of work, so in theory, do we have the potential for the addition of sidewalks and we don't have bike-compliant catch basins?
Yeah,
You know,
that should
we're
be an
inviting
issue.
kids to, use these sidewalks, and invariably, some of them are gonna be riding bikes, and we're gonna have legacy catch basins.
We've
that
paved
are problematic.
Lafayette, they all should be bicycle-safe grades
Okay.
at this time, and the Echo heads, so that they're all compliant. It's more that their location is not ideal to get a ramp in, so they had to be adjusted for the ramps.
Okay.
John, how many trees have to be removed?
A lot less, because we had a few years back, there was quite a few damage from a storm, and so they, all these, the trees that were identified, there's been a long history of having public input. We've given, it's been several years now, but we've give, presentations on the number of trees. Most of them, we met with the residents on those, so there shouldn't be any surprises on trees.
Actually, that's not my concern. My concern is you have kids walking across the street and you're taking down some big oaks, or others. And realizing that it's all gonna be done safely, it's still in an area where kids are passing by. And that's really my concern.
Well, the main sidewalk is on the opposite side of the road, so people are gonna be traveling on the opposite side of the road. And any contractor taking down a tree, they're gonna be sensitive of the public and what's going around them. So I wouldn't feel that would be a concern, that there's gonna be enough safety measures in place to prevent that from happening, that type of accident.
Oh, it's a concern based upon the timing. That's what I'm
Yeah.
expressing.
Understood.
I have a question on Esternay, if there's no other questions on,
No, good.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, the report first.
oh, sure,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, it's up to you, Mayor. It was, right now, we're just dealing with the report, and everything else there, and then we can get into the other three discussion items. All right, so, seeing none, so, first one, National Playground, if you recall, we received a grant, from the state for that. The original plan was to do an in-kind replacement. The playground over at Nash is for 5 to 12? 5 to 12. And so we reviewed, maybe a month or two ago, a proposal from a playground company that would provide a playground within our budget, within the scope of the grant, for an in-kind replacement. However, after the improvements at Mountain View, here at the municipal building, that playground, in which we did the same thing, we replaced a 5 to 12 playground with another 5 to 12 playground. There were members of the public that had expressed some concern that it did not offer elements for younger children. They were under the assumption that we upgraded the playground and made it for children older than what was there before. We looked at the records, and that wasn't the case. It was still 5 to 12 then, and it was 5 to 12 now. So when we put up the concepts drawings for Nash on the website for feedback as well, that spurred some people to make commentary about Mountain View, not specific to Nash. And so I went back to John and Rich, our Public Works Director, to ask them, hey, can we revisit this and make sure that we're incorporating enough elements and that this is in fact in kind and it's 5 to 12. We're not upgrading and eliminating a portion, and they did confirm that it is that. But we did look at, can we incorporate a younger element into the same footprint? And unfortunately, we can't.
Yeah, it's too small.
The constraints of the space are too small. Financially, would not even work within the budget of the grant, what we were approved for. However, it is open space property, and so if we wanted to allocate more money to it, we could. But there are space constraints, and so that's why John is here, but he could talk about that.
Yeah, but, well, first, the concern that we have, or another complication that we may have, is that if we do want to increase the size of the existing playground area, we do fall within the wetlands buffer. So if we do want to expand that, we have to apply for a DEP permit. So we looked at doing the 5 to 9 in the existing area, which fits well. There isn't a lot of room. We could certainly look at scaling down and having, it would, when you look at two separate pieces, separating them, you really ends up being that you're really not providing a lot of information, a lot of equipment within the existing space. So really it makes sense to go with a piece of equipment that's similar to the size that's out there, replacing the 5 to 12, but then creating a second piece for 3 to 5 that's smaller children that can play on. We don't have a lot of room to expand at Nash, even though, you know, taking the DEP out of it, you have the basketball, you have the driveway there. There just really isn't a lot of space that you can put a lot of equipment there, but we can squeeze in a small additional piece for younger children. It does add some costs, but it wasn't a substantial amount of cost that we above the grant. But the really complication is that it will trigger a DEP permit, so we have to apply for a DEP permit. It takes time to get that. It's an added cost. It's just something that you know, we would want to discuss. You know, if we want to expand it beyond just the 5 to 12.
We do have other younger elements around town. I believe Castle Park
Yeah.
has that, and so I don't think that there's an overwhelming need for it. But you had asked to put that on the website. That's some of the feedback that came in specifically about Mountain View. But I feel it. Nash presents an opportunity to address that same thing. They're so close, and to make an additional offering. But I do think, you know, there wasn't a huge, overwhelming, you know, call for that, and there are other places in town where residents can get that. I believe even top of Estrenay, we may have some younger playground elements there too.
Yeah, I don't want to speak. I'm not sure.
So, do you want to go ahead with the plan as is? You know, because that next thing would be to get a resolution on the agenda for that conceptual drawing that you reviewed about a month or two ago, or do you want to pursue this expansion?
I mean, how many comments did you, how many people did?
There was maybe 2 people talking about the need for younger elements, and that was, again, mostly directed, in fact, I believe it was all directed at Mountain View, but the Nash posting and the timing of the two, the installation and then the talk about that grant at Nash, brought some folks out about that. You know, some people were asking, oh, well, can we get a bucket seat there? So we did put in a bucket seat, because that wasn't included in there. So we did put that, but it's always been 5 to 12, and it's still 5 to 12. It just looks like newer technology and a more modern playground, and so their feeling is it doesn't lend to that younger child atmosphere.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand if there's some hybrid version. I mean, my kids grew up on the Mountain View playground, that 5 to 12 play, and they were on there probably from age 2. I mean, it was just more supervision. But if there were sometimes they have integrated systems where it's like lower level things to spin around, or I do remember, and maybe it's adds here where we have more room, so we do what we're gonna do in Nash, and The only thing different I remember over here was there was those little springy things that the kids would sit on and go back. That was about it, other than the bucket seat. So, I would say Nash, if we don't have the space or it's gonna be costly and we have to get DEP clearance, maybe we look at here as to what elements we could add, that would be relatively cost effective.
I think we actually did talk about that.
Yeah, it just requires a little more grading, a little more work, and that's something we can certainly look at here.
But now, in terms of like the playground options, do they integrate some little things that the
We
little
did
ones?
ask, that's, the
Yeah, they-
proposal we got was this.
Yeah, we did ask if they can incorporate it, and they, the options that they came up, they were smaller units, because you still have to separate it into, they're not supposed to integrate the 3 to 5 and the 5 to 12, that they're, there has to be some separation on the equipment.
Got
So
it.
that's what they said they really, you need, and then when you start doing, those separating the two pieces, it just, all of a sudden now, when you're working in this area, and two pieces are getting smaller and smaller, and it didn't look like, it looked like we would be cheaping out, what it would look like.
Okay.
Well, a question I had is, so the motor skills of a 5-year-old are vastly different from a 12-year-old. It's a pretty wide age gap. Did we ask the question to the vendor and manufacturer if there are sets that perhaps lean more towards the 5 than the 12? Or are they all more or less the same in terms of design?
We could ask, we didn't
Yeah.
ask that specific question.
To the extent there is one that perhaps leans more to the younger side, we can
Yeah.
certainly consider that, and we leave that to you.
Yeah.
The other thing I might suggest is, I should know the website by the back of my hand, but, so for our recreational elements, specifically playgrounds, we might want to make a notation on what the age range is for the the playgrounds that we have, what the designated age ranges are. If that's something that we could put on our website, that could aid.
I believe it's
Some of the
posted,
residents.
isn't it, on?
I could double check that, but
Yeah,
that's.
if it's not, it doesn't ring a bell for me, but if it's not already there, and if it very well may be, but if it's not, could be something we can consider.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, we could do that. I think, I'll look at if someone could get that on Google, because honestly, people they're not going to the website to look at, what is the playground. Most people are just like, Castle Park, they put in their navigation or Google Maps. So if we could somehow incorporate it into those listings too, that would be probably, I think maybe a bit more helpful, but we could do both. Yeah.
Well, whatever you feel is
Yeah,
appropriate and easy, relatively easy to do.
Yeah, we can control it on our website. We can try to make the claim on the Google listings for it. But I think doing it on both would probably be more.
Yeah, in our recreation section, right, our
Yeah.
listing of fields and parks, and just add a notation there, I think
Yeah.
would be more than sufficient.
Yep. So we will look at if there's a different categorization of playgrounds that's more towards the 5. Otherwise, what I'm hearing is we can move ahead with that proposal. Is that correct?
I'm good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Marty? I think proceed as planned.
Okay. Next item, Esternay parking. So at our last meeting, when Dan was here, your colleague, we reviewed the proposal for parking at Esternay. There were some minor revisions based off that feedback. This is the updated one. Before we move ahead with putting this on the website, I believe was the next step. Wanted to run that by the governing body.
Yeah, I'm good with it. I did actually go over there, ventured to get a car up there, scarily came back down, so I'm all in favor
Over the
of it.
ruts. VW may have fixed them already.
four-wheel drive
Might
car.
have broken a law. But I guess just, I know, handicap spot, there'll be enough space. I mean, as it stands right now, if there's an incident up there, I mean, there's no way for an ambulance to get up to that. So
Yeah.
a paved ability would enable that, correct? But is there enough
Yeah,
space?
that is one of the advantages.
Is there
you-
enough
Emergency
space-
vehicles can go up there. And
Enough
emergency-
space to turn around, or how's that work?
It's difficult for them, but they can do it. You know, it's gonna be more than a regular Cape
Yeah,
turn.
six-point
but they'll-
turn, that's fine.
Yeah, 6-point turn
Okay.
is more like it, but they'll go get it down. And it just, there's constantly, the DPW has to fix the erosion because
Yeah.
there's a lot of water that comes down there and they're repairing it constantly. So, you know, getting it paved, the intent is control that erosion also.
Yeah, I think the only other thing is just the notification somehow to know that the handicap spot is occupied in some capacity, so that,
Yeah,
talked
it's
about the
not
last
ideal, but I think it's a reasonable solution for what
Yeah.
we're trying to accomplish.
yeah,
You know,
but I
we
think
don't
it's
wanna
great.
build a highway there, and, you know, we can certainly build a parking lot up there, spend a lot of money on retaining walls and things, but, you know, the goal is just, to, you know, limited to trying to address handicap, trying to address the erosion, you know, have better access for emergency vehicles, you know, it's just a, you know, quick fix.
And we had
Any
talked to, I can't think of his first name, the engineer that was here last time, who I should
Dan.
know.
Dan.
Yeah, Dan, because he taught my daughter swimming. But anyway, he was one of our swim coaches. Esternay, what was I gonna say? Lost my train of thought. I'm sure it'll come back to me. It's been one of those
Okay.
days.
So, next steps, as I understand correctly, you wanted this posted on the website for the public?
Oh, yes, so the current rendering, yes.
The latest
Yeah.
rendering posted on the website, let people know, what we're planning on doing over there, and then after that, we would go out to bid on it.
Yep.
We would need an authorization to bid, we didn't do the authorization to bid, so yeah, we would, the next meeting, we'll have a resolution to authorize the bidding on this one. Okay?
Great.
Okay, and then, last, but not least for John, is Hillside Trail drainage improvements. That's our conversation with the county,
Correct.
correct? So, why
Yep.
don't you tee that up?
Yep, so we have, frankly, we've had an ongoing erosion problem at the Hillside Trail property. The Morris County has a catch basin that discharges, has a pipe that discharges onto our property, and they do not have an easement. It's a natural low point in the road, you know, you know, the basin, water always probably flowed in that area, and they just but they likely concentrated it when they put curbing and they put this basin in and they concentrated. And the extent of erosion wasn't extensive. It only happened for some reason after the park was constructed, and then we had a major storm event, and then it created some significant gullies on the side slopes, and ever since the erosion started, it's been escalating, and we constantly are getting, you know, if you look at Walk the Path now, you will be amazed how deep these ruts are that they're creating, and what it does is ultimately it pushes sediment down, and it just starts to create, you know, it directs the water away from the drainage channels, because the drainage channels get filled up with sediment, they overflow, and then they start, you know, going in areas where they're not supposed to, and then it's become a maintenance issue for us to constantly fix the paths to that. So we have been talking to the county regarding this. We've you know, wanted them to address it and pay for it, and they've been a little bit reluctant to do that in the beginning. As part of the grant application that we got for the Phase 2 of the Hillside Trail, we did show drainage improvements in this area, so it was designed to what a solution would be. And so we recently approached the county again regarding, you know, the need for this, and they did agree that they will pay for the drainage improvements on our property. So basically, it is substantially complete, because we have the design done. We just need to pull it away from the trail portion and just separate the two projects. And, you know, with AutoCAD and drafting and things, it's easy to separate for two projects. So they are willing, if we're willing to bid the project, they are willing to go into an interlocal agreement and pay for the construction of it.
Great.
So, yeah.
John, I think that's great news.
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
it is definitely a bad storm or two.
Yeah.
And those ruts are plenty deep.
Yep.
So that maintenance on top of the other cutting maintenance, which is a whole separate issue, I think is very necessary. And if you could pull the money out from that other, trail number 2 program, that's a home run. It needs to be done.
Now, this would not, this is going to be money from the Engineering Public Works Department. This is not gonna be funds from the Parks Department. So we would still apply, if we wanna proceed with the Phase 2 trail project, we would
Yes.
apply for that grant separately, because that's a different pot of money. So this is coming out of the Public Works funding. So this is 2 separate grant programs, and it's really not a grant program. The county has done this in other municipalities that are in. If they are causing a problem, they'll, it takes a little while, and it took a while to get to this point, but we wore them down.
Terrific. Thank you.
So the reason for bringing it to you now is three things. One, making sure they're aware of this. Two, we will need an interlocal agreement with them, so that would require a resolution. But to be clear, that is something that we discussed with them, that they would do this if we're willing to bid that out and take on the administration of that, which John and I are both comfortable with doing that. So just understanding that that's part of that agreement, is in exchange for the money that we're taking on the administration and bidding of that. And then that would be followed with an authorization to bid and actually going out and doing bidding for this work. So those kind of give you a heads up on what would come next, in the coming months.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay?
So before you leave, you reminded me while you were speaking what I wanted
Okay.
to say. So the estimate parking, I had asked Dan if we could look for grant money because we're putting in ADA parking.
Yeah.
I seem to think that would be feasible.
Yeah, there's not a specific grant that's available for that. We could look at Morris County as doing that, instead of a trail grant. We could look and see if they're willing to, I can inquire with them and see if they're willing to, if that would fall under their criteria.
Yeah, I mean, it covers a lot of bases between
It-
erosion, ADA, and emergency access.
It does. It's not necessarily one of their ideal projects that they typically encourage, because they're looking at enhancement, but it is an enhancement for an ADA stall. So I can certainly ask the county if that's something that they'd be willing to fund.
Okay, great.
Would this qualify, is the state still running the Lloyd grant program?
No, I'm not saying it's active right now at the moment, no. We could approach Green Acres to see if, for loans, but, that gets to be all the administration effort to go for that, only for a small project. If this was a $2 million project, maybe it'd be worth it, but going through Green Acres for a loan, it'd be, it's probably spend more money just administratively.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
Rushkey.
All right, take care,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Okay, Mayor, that concludes the engineering portion. We go back to the beginning with monthly reports. Since we've completed engineering, I didn't receive any questions on any of the reports, but are there any questions or comments on any of those you'd like me to follow up on?
I think I had one remaining question, but I don't know if you might have, let me check my questions. Usually I copy it into my notes and I did not do that.
No problem. I know you did email just a little bit ago about and I can touch on that under DPW with the vehicle purchases.
Oh, yeah.
That is within the budget.
Okay,
Yeah, so that purchase, just as the PD one, those are part of their capital plan.
great. And then I saw the other resolution was pulled.
Correct, and
Perfect.
so, just for clarification, the resolution on the original Friday agenda, 161, has been pulled, and may be revisited at a later date, and then, so there were some adjustments to the agenda, which is what you have today.
Oh,
And if I may,
It's already adjusted, yeah. That's why he was saying we got the new one.
And so the Colony Pool Wall resolution, to be clear, 169, that will be the resolution to reject the bids and authorize a rebid.
And if we're touching on the agenda, the consent agenda resolutions, 167, which is the liquor license transfer, that'll have to come off because we had anticipated that they were going to get us some of their paperwork on Friday, which didn't happen. They thought they would get it to me yesterday, which again didn't happen. So since as of 4 p.m. we don't have that consent to transfer form, we'll have to take that off, and we expect to be able to do that resolution at our regular meeting in September.
Cool, okay. So Mr. LeConte then, so with regard to consent agenda, we have resolutions ending in 158 through 168 or 169 then?
So we'll, when we get to the consent agenda, we'll do items 1 through 9, 11, and
Strike
12.
162.
We'll just, strike number 10 from the agenda that you have in front of you.
Strike 162 joint, 167 liquor license
Yeah.
transfer. Okay.
Because the original 161 was the one that Mr. Shahadi referenced, but the outside lien redemption used to be 170. I just moved that up on Monday when we had the other resolution pulled.
Understood. Thank you.
So,
Hey,
no
Mr. Shoddy?
questions on any other questions on reports?
Yep. Marty? No?
Okay, thank you. Next item, the November meeting schedule. I'll turn over to the clerk. You could touch on that, but that's related to the League of Municipalities and our holidays.
Yeah, so with the meeting schedule, when we originally set the meeting schedule for this year, when we looked at November 4th is the general election, so we won't be able to meet that day. The next Tuesday, which would be normally a regular meeting date, is Veterans Day, so I'm not sure how you would feel about meeting on a federal holiday. So we set the one meeting for November on the 18th, which we now know is the opening day of the League of Municipalities Conference, which at least 2 of our committee members have expressed interest in attending that, and I'm interested in attending it as well to get some recertification credits. So if we want to give ourselves the option of attending the conference, we would need to move our November meeting date. My recommendation would be possibly the Thursday the week before, which would be the 13th. We theoretically could keep it on Tuesday the 11th if we wanted to meet on a federal holiday. I would generally advise against the 25th because that's the same week as Thanksgiving, and potentially committee members and members of the public would likely be traveling or, worrying about holiday plans at that point. But we just wanted to get the committee's input if there was thoughts on what would be a better date for all of you to have a meeting.
Did you consider Monday the 10th also, because there's no planning board meeting that day?
We could do Monday the 10th, yeah, because the planning board would be the 3rd and the 17th. So we could aim for Monday the 10th if the committee were so inclined.
That works for me.
We're only doing one, is that correct?
Yeah, if we stick with one meeting in November, which
Yeah.
that's usually what we wind up doing.
Okay. The 10th is fine with me.
Marty, does that work for you?
Actually, I have to check. I know I don't have my business book in front of me, but I have to go to Austria sometime around that neighborhood. Can I just text it in, or?
Yeah, you can let me know. And
Thanks, Greg.
since she's back in the booth, Alex, would that Monday the 10th work for you? Okay. And then that way, this would give us plenty of time to get the public notice out and update the website and let our press know.
Great, so tentatively November 10th, Monday, subject to confirmation from,
Yeah, once I hear back from Marty, then I'll get that notice out.
great. Thank you.
And final item under workshop, the Township app. There's been I think there were some updates to provide on that to address some questions and comments from the last meeting.
Yeah, I can kind of just recap what progress has been made, I guess, if that's appropriate. There were a couple questions about who else is using the technology that we proposed, which was GoGov. There are plenty of case samples throughout the US, not a whole lot in the state of New Jersey, but we did talk to two new adopters of the technology last week. One was Raritan Valley and the other was Warren Township. If you go onto the Google Store or the App Store and download the app, you can have access to the apps yourselves and kind of see the functionality of how it works. I've been very impressed with Raritan Valley and how they're using it. Warren Township was actually pretty quiet, but in having conversations with them, it made perfect sense as to why that was, which is that they had just launched like the day before, and nobody really knew about it. So they're kind of in early adopting phase right now. But the general consensus from both of the representatives who manage it have said nothing but immensely positive things about the customer service, the customization, the tools that they have available at their disposal, all the positive reasons for why they actually did it in the first place. One person at Warren Township was candid and told me that they were not a believer of this to begin with, and has since become one as the result of kind of seeing it to fruition, which was really terrific. And I think that you'll see, if you actually download the apps and see, they're using it mostly as a non-emergency notification system for everything that's needed, and it's pretty terrific. You see how the fire department sprayed down a bunch of kids the other day, and they showed pictures on, on the app. And I mean, it's just all those kinds of things they're doing. You're talking about the parks and recs. You can actually have a geolocation of all the parks with the age appropriateness on the app. We can talk about the Esternay thing. We can actually put it on the app. Like, all of those things can actually happen. So the difference with what Warren Township is doing versus Raritan is that they went a little bit extra further in that they're using it as a two-way device. So there are actually they have a feature at the top of the app that invites residents to directly communicate with department people within the township. So if they have a specific request, it'll get routed to DPW or the Environmental Commission or whatever else that they kind of talk about. And so there is sort of a start request feature on the app right there, which I think is terrific. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it in version 1.0, but it is something that they utilize, and with the expectation that somebody will get back to them, let's say within a day or 2 days. It's not an urgent notification system. They're not expecting to text our DPW head. But Raritan Valley also said that the police were actually able to update traffic advisories on the scene directly at the location. They didn't have to actually go back to their dashboard, and they could do it through the app and all of those things too. So it's just, again, additional positive notification systems. And then the last thing I'd add is that both have said that their marketing team for GoGov has been really terrific. They give you everything you kind of need in order to help drive adoption rates and guide you, whether we need that or not. It doesn't matter because they offer it to you and it's free. So it's a terrific ancillary service as well too. So I heard nothing negative. I fully endorse this. I endorsed it before. I further endorse it. I think that there were questions as well about directing people from the app to our website and making sure that that's mobile responsiveness appropriately. I think we can make sure that all of that happens prior to any launch, so that anything that people are going to from the app to the website is a pretty seamless experience.
And I remember you mentioned it's one entry point, so whoever populates, it'll feed to all those other social media.
Through the dashboard. So whoever, I'm not even sure who does our social media I know who does our website, but I'm not sure who pushes content out there. But whatever's on the website, like our news announcements, will be added to the feed. But a single dashboard, if you push a notification to Facebook, it'll go through the app as well too. So it's just a one-click push notification to all of your channels, including the app. And again, I think we just have to be careful about how we're using it. Nobody wants 50 notifications a day. We just have to be careful, but I think we do that already with our, I'm sorry?
You can opt in and out of these.
Yeah, we can set permissions. They do have a login feature for Raritan Valley, and the reason for the opt-in, for the login, where people give their email addresses and their name and all that stuff for personal login is because you can customize the kinds of notifications you received. But you can also receive all notifications by just being a guest. You don't have to give your information. And the information was assured to me that it was, the administrator was basically had the information. It wasn't sent around to anybody else. It was on their server to protect the privacy of residents that did opt into the app.
Presumably, this would be available in both iOS and Android and all the different
Yep.
platforms?
Correct.
One of the questions that was asked earlier was, one of the questions that was asked earlier was, how many folks have downloaded the app and what they thought would be sort of a successful launch in terms of downloads? I mean,
Yeah, it's hard to tell. I don't think anybody has set the full what does success look like, other than what Raritan Valley said is they've had about 1,000 downloads. I guess their audience base is probably double ours. But he had no answer for what success looked like. He already said it was successful because he's reaching 1,000 people in a way that he hadn't before. So I don't know what that is for us. You know, obviously there has to be a return on the investment, that it's valuable, but, you know, in our town is 3,000 households, what, 10,000 people ballpark, right?
11,000.
But you would know more. I don't know. I think we can set a soft target of, you know, what the first 6 months would look like, how we're actually getting the word out there, what events do we actually have that will invite downloads, all of those things, you know? But I don't want to set an arbitrary number of what success looks like until we kind of talk it over.
Yeah, maybe the vendor knows, you know, to the extent they've launched all these things, they might have some.
I think it's different for
Sort of
every
honed
town.
in.
It's different for every town. I mean, we can ask, but I think that every town is gonna have a different set of their own objectives and metrics, for that matter.
How many years, or how much time, when did they launch the app, Raritan in Warren?
Raritan Valley launched in like July 15th. It was pretty much the day, like literally the day I
Brand
called. Raritan, I think, they began in October and they launched the beginning of the year as a soft launch. So we're only 6 months in and they've got about 1,000 downloads for where they are. And that's
So there's an
two-
annual fee, is there an upfront investment to build it?
Nope.
Or-
Nope, it's just a one-time cost on a recurring basis. And as I said, the rate that they offered me, I negotiated down off of $1,000 off of their annual cost, which was, what, almost a
20%?
20%? Aren't you impressed? And I did ask if they would lock that into a multi-year, which they said they'd be open to. So if that's something we want to consider.
I mean, it seems a small cost, I think it was like 4,000 a year,
Yeah,
to reach residents. And I think we're all supportive of making sure we engage residents in the process as much as possible and as easily as possible, because everybody's busy.
Yep.
And they want to know what's going on, but they don't have time, you know, to go search for it. So as much as we can provide the tool or support the tools to increase engagement, and if it doesn't work, it's not like we had to pay X amount of dollars to start, we just, you know. we'll
yeah,
pay,
I agree with that. The one other thing I would say is that they, I think Raritan told me that majority of their notifications that they were pushing out to residents were used through Nixle, which was their emergency broadcast system. And they said since this app, they've been able to decrease that like 100%, which took all the strain off of the cost factor for Nixle. I don't think we do that or use that for non-emergency notifications. I don't know if we do. But I think in time, this could actually save some money with other services that we actually have,
Yeah.
potentially.
So our emergency notification act now, our police chief for the most part manages that, and, you know, there's real concern with overuse, so to have another vehicle
That's correct. This would offload
would be good.
pretty much all of that. And if there's a cost associated with that, it would actually, there is no cost for notifications. There are costs for cellular notifications. That makes sense. So through the app, you can send a notification, alert notification will show
I see
up
what
on
you're
your
saying.
phone.
Okay.
If it's a text notification through GoGov, there's a carrier cost for the cellular service, which you don't have to add into. That would be above and beyond the annual fee. If you did have that, you'd have to bank a certain amount of credits for your cellular service notifications. But there are unlimited notifications in a non-cellular way. Does that make sense?
We'd have to pay to do cellular
Yeah.
notifications?
Yeah, I'm sure you do. If right now, if we do notifications through Act Now I don't know this, but I can only assume if you do a text notification, unless you've had to have negotiated something, and there's a cost associated with that.
Okay.
Does it cost us to do,
Right now, no, right now, with Act Now, that's our name for it, but it's, the system is called Rave, which is through the county, so they set it up, and it's part of a shared kind of interlocal, from the OEM, so, we get unlimited use of it so long as it's for emergency use. So it's emergency notification. It's similar to, in other towns, we used, drawing a blank on the name of it, but, there's a couple other, I'm sorry? Not Nixle, there's another system like that counties would do to save the towns from having to enter into their own agreements and costs, so they would just give it to the county, and then each town would get a license. And they generally say just as long as you're just using it for emergencies, then they're not gonna charge you for it, but because there is a provision, I think through the federal government, that you can do these things, and an agreement with the Verizon and the different carriers. But once they start seeing you use it for like everyday notifications that aren't, then they'll be like, wait a minute, now you're not using it for just emergencies. And they'll say, you can't send it for those are a separate charge. But and as long as we're using it conservatively and for emergency purposes, fortunately for now, we
Right,
have
so I'm not
been.
sure what we consider, or what we or they consider to be an I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
they know what an emergency is, but is a road closure, a tree down, or something along those
Yeah,
lines?
things like those are
or-
public safety. If it's like saying, hey, we're having a fair, come out to the
Right.
fair. But what I've seen other towns do is they're like, hey, we're having a fair, so there may be road closures and, you know, disturbance, and then that's how they kind of couch it under public safety. But we don't have, you know, fortunately, we're not like some other towns where that hasn't been an issue.
Yeah,
far,
so I'm pretty sure for Raritan Valley, any kind of traffic advisory, anything like that was considered an emergency notification, and there was an inherent cost for them to do that. And now they use the GoGov app in order to do that as well. So it's less of a cost for
Yep.
them. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if it would affect us, but, yeah.
There are certain events like the rabies clinic that would be
Yeah,
good
you
to
do all
go through
that
something
stuff,
like this.
yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
You know, flu shot
Dog
clinic.
licenses, I mean, everything that you're talking about. And then, of course, accessing the quick links on our website to get information. I mean, they're like, if we do payment portals
Yep.
through the website, so quick links to the payment portal. It's not like you're doing the transaction on, you can do it through your phone, but it's taking you to the place where you're making the payment. All that stuff.
And from a staff support perspective, I mean, it sounds like it's basically leveraging what you're already doing. Any concerns from that perspective?
No, I mean, for the use that's, you know, being proposed for this, where it's integrating into things like social media, it's right now, it's Greg, Peter, and myself already doing it, so it ties into those. So, that's fine, it's tying into the website, so as long as it's doing kind of the same integration. But, you know, we'll see how it works out. I mean, just like, we added the newsletter function, tried to tie that into the same thing, the website, so when we put something on the website, it's just a checkbox that sends out the blast. So long as we can kind of integrate it with our existing systems.
Yeah, you should be fully able to do it, but again, I would have us prior to
Yeah.
do a live demo as well too.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the website we moved away from was proprietary. Now we're using a system that is much more open source and compatible with other things. So I'm sure they've got ways to integrate it with what we use, which is WordPress, and there's systems for that. It's easier to do now that it's not proprietary.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so as far as I'm concerned, I mean, aside from any other questions, it always just comes down to cost and implementation. The implementation is fairly standard, you know, with the right oversight and the management and everything, but it's a 4 to 6 week process ballpark. It's just a cost factor then.
So is the ask, what's the ask? Whether or not to put authorization to proceed, or because it's a low amount, so?
Yeah, it sounds, I mean, because it's a low amount, doesn't need I'll confirm it, but it doesn't need anything. It's something I can just do through requisition and purchase order. The one thing is it would have to probably wait until end of October to November, because it is a small amount, but it wasn't in the budget. And everything we do is literally to the dollar and cent with our budget. So come October, when we're starting to look at where, you know, where we can move money to, because right now we don't have really no wiggle room in the IT budget for it, but then we would be able to transfer some money once we look at, you know, what other issues are, because we've had some legal expenses due to some Oprahs and other things, so after really come October, that's when Debbie and I, as you know, will start looking at where accounts are sufficient and where they're insufficient and where we need to move funds, and then we'll do a transfer in November, and if we can do it then I do the requisition shortly thereafter.
Sounds like a Christmas present.
Setting aside Z's effort on firming up funds for it, is there anything that would preclude us from taking it to the next step, as you might prescribe? What would be?
I think my only other question, aside from just telling the vendor, we'll do, I mean, I already did a demo, I would do a more thorough one with you, just to answer, and Greg as well too, who's very involved in the updates and the management of that. The only other question after that is for us to consider a multi-year rate, if that's something we want to consider. But that also doesn't necessarily mean you have to pay up front for it. I didn't get that far with them. An option to renew at the same rate, perhaps. We can negotiate all that. But to answer your question, nothing on my end that I can think of.
So next step would be a more bona fide.
I think we
Demo?
would do a
Product demo?
demo. We would kind of hash out exactly the real functionality of what we're looking to do. We'd make sure that everybody's aligned with it. I think we can do some of those details prior to November.
Yeah.
So that we're aligned, and then we can press go, and it might speed up the development process.
Yeah, I can be supportive, certainly. And if we find wiggle room, et cetera, in November, then I say we take the next step. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, thank you for doing all that, all the legwork.
Marty, is it the middle of the night there?
Yeah, it's like camping out under the stars or something.
He's hiding out.
Like, are you afraid of the dark? The old shit.
Sorry, it started with the sunbeam. Thought it was going to blind you. And yes, it has gotten dark here in New Hampshire.
It's a witness protection program over
They
there.
said we're gonna have a program, Where in the World is Marty?
Just a quick note, we discussed the meeting dates for November, and Mr. McHugh sent me a note that he's available Monday, November 10th, so we'll plan on moving forward with that.
All right, Mayor, so that concludes the workshop. Unless there are questions for items on the consent agenda, from now that we haven't addressed, so that way we can
Yes.
vote them all as part of consent.
So any members of the committee who would like to initiate this, or have discussion on any resolution item on the consent agenda?
If there's a tiny typo, do I need to pull it out, or can I just
Yeah, I think I saw that
give
same
that?
typo.
Yeah. Resolution, number 2025-159. Oh, no, actually, it's -160 because it's an executive session minutes. Number 1, Vernon Grove. It's GROE, just add a V.
So, yeah, if you're talking about the minutes themselves rather than the resolution, email me the correction.
All right,
Okay.
got it. Thank you.
Great, if there's nothing else, then we can end the workshop portion of the evening. We'll move on to the regular meeting. And with that, the mayor's message. Good evening. Thank you for joining us or tuning in remotely as we work together through our agenda. This evening's meeting will be the last of our combined workshop regular meetings, which is a solemn reminder that summer's end is fast approaching. I hope that you have found ways to enjoy the long summer days. I'd like to put in some context, select agenda items for members of our community. I am a believer of shared services at the local level, county level, and beyond. We understand the potential when it's done correctly, better services, overall lower costs, and better utilization of assets. And I think we also understand the concerns, possible loss of control, and service inequity, to name two. The township has enjoyed a shared municipal court for some time now, and tonight we are considering the renewal of this agreement, a 4-year deal. I'd say the joint court agreement has quietly gone about notching wins year after year. I say this because it appears that assets are well leveraged, staffing levels are optimized, and service levels, which I understand are admirable, have been maintained year over year. The township's participation in the joint court is a shared service success story. This evening, we are voting to recognize the planned purchase of multiple vehicles for our police and public safety in order to support their year-round services. Funds have already been allocated in this 2025 capital budget, and costs are within our expectations. I commend our administrator and CFO, as well as Chief Miller and Rich Young, for collaborating and planning well and maximizing the use of township assets. This committee thanks you. Our taxpayers thank you. As a result of prudent planning, and thank you Mr. Shahadi and Mr. Rushki, our annual budget allocates for the continual improvement of our roads. I'm told the road servicing should be concluding in coming days. To the residents whose streets are affected, I thank you for your patience during this short burst of work. I know you will be pleased with the smooth, black alabaster-like roads in the coming days. We pursue grant monies whenever possible to improve our township. For Nash Field, we already secured a $60,000 grant for a new playground and taking public input, and we are currently in process of identifying a vendor to complete the work. If it isn't already, proposed renderings will be made available on the website for your review. I am pleased to report that our 7-mile fiber network project is substantially complete and under budget. I extend much gratitude to Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, who is the congressional sponsor, approximately $800,000 in grant funding for the township. This took several years, and it's a big infrastructure win for the township. The small bonus is that we are considering an expansion of work scope with the remaining grant monies that we have. We're also moving Hillside Trail Phase 2 plan revisions through county parks and developing an ADA improvement concept for Esternay Field. For both projects, we are intentional about getting information available to the public for consideration. Check our website for concept plans and renderings so you may see how the township assets are being improved. Summer days may end, but civic spirit is always in season. So I thank our staff, volunteers, and neighbors for your partnership and for keeping Chatham Township moving forward. Thank you. And we move on to Township Committee reports. Mr. McHugh, may I start with you?
Yep, you're on mute.
Committeeman, I think you're on mute.
I was on mute. Sorry about that. Both the Environmental Commission and the Open Space have no August meeting. And if you'll bear with me, I'm pulling up the library notes I have here. I will get that to you. Okay. August 13 and 14, very quickly. The library is hosting a workshop on understanding Social Security and Medicare benefits. On August 26th, the library is sponsoring 2 financial seminars focusing on finance and estate planning. And the library now offers Library Chef Junior with 1 live cooking class for children and teens, and that is monthly. And on September 4th, the library is offering a college application workshop for high school seniors. And that is the report from the library. Thank you, Mayor.
Committeeman Q, thank you. Committeewoman Ewell.
Thank you. Overall, the summer's pretty quiet, but I will let everybody know that the Senior Center is planning for its second We're a Big Dill Pickleball Tournament. It was hugely successful last year. It is scheduled for Saturday, September 27th. Registration is open. It will be at Madison High School from 9 to 3 on the 27th, and registration will run till September 22nd. It was hugely popular, and the spots did fill up quickly, so if you're a big pickleball fan and want to participate and support the Senior Center at the same time, please reach out to them at chathamseniorcenter.org. You can get more information. And that's all for the reports for me.
Thank you, Committeewoman. Committeewoman Rowland, Deputy Mayor Rowland.
It's been quiet, so I don't really have anything to report today.
Thank you. Committeeman Alperowitz.
Unfortunately, I can't attend the pickleball tournament, which might actually bode well since I won last year. So I can't defend my title,
Hey.
which means that somebody else can take the crown.
Up for grabs.
So I'd encourage everyone to attend. The only thing I have to add is that the Chatham Township Volunteer Fire Department has a birthday party for their young 100th birthday, which is on October 11th. They're asking everyone to save the date. They are offering food, beer, wine, and soda, live music, and lots of tours, and come on out and support the fire department at their headquarters on River Road. I believe there is a shuttle that is running from this building to the fire department, so parking is actually here, not at the fire department. So save the date for October 11th, Saturday, from 2 to 6 p.m. That's all I've got.
Committeeman, thank you, and it's an affair. So it's a family-friendly event, lots of food, live band, so come out and support the fire department. I have only one note, and I just want to mention of National Night Out, which did occur on August 5th. I did want to give praise to our police and emergency squad, our first responders who were out in full force for the special evening. It's the 4th anniversary of the event. It's a family-friendly event. We had a number of residents come out. It was a nice summer evening, so happy that our Township Fire, Green Village Fire, and Chatham Police and Emergency Squad were all out there to make the event, the occasion, a special one. So thank you to all. Hats off to you for making it a special evening for the residents. And just by way of a calendaring, it is always held on the first Tuesday of August. So mark your calendars for next year. That's all for me. And at this time, that's the conclusion of the committee reports. If I may, now move on to the consent agenda. With regard to consent agenda, it encompasses resolution 2025-158 through resolution 2025-169 with the following provision: resolution 2025-167 liquor license transfer stricken from the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Alperowitz,
Yes?
Mrs. Ewald,
Yes.
Mr. McHugh,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Rowland,
Yes.
and Mayor Choi.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. We now move on to the second hearing of citizens. I invite members of the audience to come before the microphone in the event they choose to do so. Okay, I see no one coming before the mic. Mr. LeConte, do we have anyone online?
We do not have any hands raised at this time.
Thank you, Mr. LeConte. I now close the second hearing of citizens. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Night, Marty.
Good night, Marty.
Good night.